Hey there! Ready to power up your vocabulary? Today we're going to tackle 25 new words. We'll break them down into groups to make them super easy to remember. Let's get right into it. So first up, we're diving into words all about clarity. You know that feeling when you're trying to explain something and you just can't find the right word for whether it's super clear or, well, really confusing? These next few words are going to be your best friends for that. Okay, so let's start with a classic pair of opposites, opaque and palpable. Opaque is when you just can't see through something. Think of a frosted glass window or a really dense fog. It also works for ideas. If a teacher's explanation is totally opaque, it means, well, nobody got it. Now, on the flip side, you've got palpable. Palpable is for a feeling or an atmosphere that's so strong, so intense, you feel like you could almost reach out and touch it. You know that quiet, heavy feeling in a room after an argument? That tension is totally palpable. Or think about the roar of a crowd at a concert. The excitement is palpable. All right, next up, ostensible. This is such a useful word. It's for the reason someone says they're doing something, but it's probably not the real reason. For example, you could say, his ostensible reason for being late was the traffic. See? That's the official story he's giving everyone. But maybe, just maybe, the real reason is that he hit the snooze button 5 times. It's that surface-level excuse. And now for the complete opposite of that sneaky, hidden meaning, patent. If something is patent, it's just obvious, blatantly obvious. You can't miss it. Like, she told a patent lie. Means everyone knew she wasn't telling the truth. It was written all over her face. So, to recap, an ostensible reason tries to hide the truth, but a patent fact just puts the truth right out there for everyone to see. Okay, moving on to our next group. This one's all about the big stuff, ideas, rules, and the models we follow. So let's look at 2 different mindsets here. First, there's orthodox. Orthodox means sticking to the old school, traditional, widely accepted way of doing things. It's the standard path. A teacher with an orthodox style, they're probably using the classic textbook and lecture method. Nothing too wild. Then you've got parochial. Parochial describes a really narrow, limited point of view. Imagine someone who has never left their tiny little village and has zero interest in the rest of the world. Their views are parochial. They're just not open to new ideas from the outside. Next up, paradigm. A paradigm is basically the ultimate model, or the perfect example of something. It's the gold standard that everyone else looks up to and tries to copy. Think of a super successful company. It becomes the paradigm for how to run a business in that industry. It's the blueprint for success. And now for something a little more fun, parody. A parody is just a funny imitation. It's when you copy the style of a famous movie, a book, or even a person, but you exaggerate everything to make people laugh. You know those funny videos that make fun of a popular song by changing the words? That's a parody. Okay, this one's a real brain teaser. Paradox. A paradox is a statement that sounds completely impossible because it says 2 opposite things at once. But when you think about it, it's actually true. It's like a riddle. For example, you have to be cruel to be kind. Wait, what? It sounds contradictory, but sometimes being tough on someone is the kindest thing you can do for them in the long run. That's a paradox. Here's a great example. This is the beginning of the end. How can it be the start and the finish? Well, this paradox means that some final, crucial event has just started, and it's definitely going to lead to the very end of a situation. It's a really powerful way to say things are about to change for good. All right, get ready for a little memory trick. This next group is what I like to call the people words. All 5 of them start with PA, and they all describe people or how we treat them. If we learn them together, they'll be way easier to remember. So here's our lineup: patriarch, paternal, patrician, partisan, and patronize. Let's jump in and see what makes each one unique. Okay, first up are 2 words that both come from the Latin word for father, which is pater. That's your clue. A patriarch is the big boss, the male head of a family or tribe. Think of the powerful father figure who's in charge. Paternal, on the other hand, is an adjective. It describes a feeling or an action that is father-like. If you feel protective and kind towards someone younger, that's a paternal feeling. So one's a person, the patriarch, and the other is a way of acting, paternal. Next, let's contrast 2 more people words. A patrician is someone from the upper crust, an aristocrat, someone with high social rank. Think old money and fancy titles. A partisan is totally different. A partisan is a diehard supporter of one side. They're not neutral at all. They're all in for their political party, their team, or their cause. So a patrician is about your social class, while a partisan is about where your loyalty lies. And the last of our POW words is patronize. Now, listen closely because this one has two very different meanings. The first one is easy. It just means to be a regular customer. You can say, I patronize that little bookstore down the street. Simple. But the second meaning is the one you'll see on tests all the time, and it's negative. It means to talk to someone in a way that makes them feel stupid or like a little kid. It's when you act kind, but you're really showing you think you're better than them. So if someone says, don't patronize me, they're telling you to stop treating them like an idiot. All right, let's switch gears and talk about money and value. This next group of words covers everything from being filthy rich to having practically nothing. And here we have two words that are polar opposites. First, opulent. Opulent means incredibly rich, luxurious, just over-the-top fancy. Imagine a palace dripping with gold and diamonds. That's an opulent lifestyle. And on the other end of the spectrum, paltry. A paltry amount is so small and tiny that it's basically worthless. If someone offers you a paltry sum of money for a big job, you'd be insulted. It's an insignificant amount. Okay, now let's look at two different ways people act with their money. Someone who is ostentatious loves to show off their wealth. They want everyone to see how rich they are. Think flashy sports cars, giant diamond rings. It's all for show. The total opposite is someone who is parsimonious. This person is extremely cheap. They hate spending money, even on things they need. They're super stingy. So what do you call it when there's just not enough of something to go around? That's a paucity. Paucity is just a fancy word for scarcity or a lack of something. You could have a paucity of volunteers for a project, a paucity of evidence in a case, or a paucity of good options to choose from. It simply means not enough. Okay, on to a really nice group of words now. These are all about making things better, providing relief, and caring for others. From calming someone down to finding the perfect cure. Let's think of these three words as levels of healing, from small to big. First, you pacify someone. That just means you calm them down. You might pacify a crying child with a toy. Next, you can palliate a problem. This is a bit more serious. To palliate means you make the symptoms feel better, but you don't actually cure the underlying illness. Think of how a painkiller can palliate a toothache. It helps with the pain, but you still need to see a dentist. And finally, the dream solution, a panacea. A panacea is a magical, perfect cure for everything. Of course, in real life, there's no such thing. People quickly learn that winning the lottery is not a panacea for all of life's problems. All right, we're on the home stretch. Our final group of words is all about the tough stuff in life: heavy burdens, hard work, and sickness. Let's tie these last three words together. Imagine you have a really difficult, heavy, and burdensome task. That task is onerous. Now, to get that onerous job done right, you're going to need a painstaking approach. That means you have to be super careful and pay close attention to every little detail. And what's one of the most onerous burdens in life? Sickness. And that's where pathology comes in. Pathology is the science of studying diseases. So you see how they connect? A pathologist might take a painstaking approach to understanding the pathology of a disease, which is a truly onerous job. And that's a wrap. 25 brand new words for your mental toolkit. We've gone from obvious to confusing, from rich to poor, and from simple problems to complex ones. Now, the most important part is to actually use them. So what do you think? Which one of these words are you going to try out first? Go for it. The more you practice, the more they'll become a natural part of your vocabulary.